It is Friday, December the 3rd, 1993, and I'm Charles Conn in Cocoa, Florida, speaking today to a man of great experience and great influence in the Church of God, Reverend Thomas E. Chenault. Brother Chenault, it is a real honor for me to get to have this conversation with you and this opportunity to talk about the experience you've had in the ministry of the church, and also to get some of your views and so on about the Church of God. I appreciate your accepting us to come down and to visit with you and to talk with you here. Brother Chenault, the ministry that you've had has been rather extended and very effective, and I would like to know where were you born, and how did your association with the Church of God come about?
I was born March 26, 1934. I'm a third generation Church of God. My grandfather, my grandmother, my dad, and my mother was all Church of God members. So I was Church of God raised all my life.
Mm-hmm. And where is your home?
My home is Orlando, Florida, born in Orlando, Florida.
And much of your life has been lived in the area?
I pastored in Maryland, Miami, Jacksonville, Cocoa, Umatilla, and various parts of Florida. Mm-hmm. And spent time military.
Mm-hmm. You were in the military?
Military.
Uh-huh. And in your earliest days in the Church of God, did you attend school in preparation for the ministry, or how did that come about?
Well, I spent a tour in the Army, and when I got out of the Army, I went to college. I went to a predominant black college, Edwardswater College in Jacksonville, and got a master's degree. And I went to seminary at Atlanta Center Seminary and got a doctorate of divinity.
Mm-hmm. Your doctorate in divinity is from?
In Orlando, Florida.
Orlando, Florida.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you meet your wife in the Church of God? Is she Church of God also?
My wife's Church of God, original Baptist.
Is that right?
Yes, missionary Baptist.
And has she been active with you in your
for the last
through the years?
37 years.
37 years?
37 years.
Well, you're still a young man by my standards, yeah. And all. But in the course of your ministry, Brother Chenault, I do know that you would have been very conscious of the kind of tumultuous period that America went through in the 1960s, in the days when regardless of ethnic origin and regardless of color of skin and so on. We hate to admit those things, but America has, in our lifetime, my lifetime and yours, gone through a tremendous period of self-examination. Were you, how did that affect you as a Church of God minister?
I remember some years ago when even at Lee College, we told Brother Wheeler, who was a member of Daytona Beach Church, to go and get an application. Brother Hughes was president at that time, and Brother Hughes would not even allow him to get an application for Lee College in that early part of life, and say he'd stop him and block him at the door himself. Personally, he made that statement. All right, T.L. Lowry, who had one of his books that was in opposition of black and whites and etc. in that time. So we went through some trying times. J.T. Roberts, who the Gion Church appointed over a predominant black. No black was ever appointed over predominant white. So to us, it was an insult to our intelligence. Mm-hmm. And they said it was integration, but we said it was subligation. We were tried to be suppressed instead of integrated into a system, mm-hmm. in which the church was then predominant Southern white. Mm-hmm. And we did our best to bring about changes, and the more that we would bring about changes, the more we would call militant or resented by the church for our role that we were trying to play. A lot of them left the church. I stayed with it, tried to make it better.
Well, in the period you were talking about, earlier than that, has it always been, or did it accelerate? Have you seen any changes at all, Brother Chenault?
A little change on the surface, and that's only on the surface. But basically, the system base is about the same. For example, when you look at the church in general, the predominant role of the church are played by, in this country, by white Caucasian. And you can see it. Go to the general office or Lee College. Look at the faculty member. Look at the employees in the public house. Look at the officers in the general office. It is a predominant white. So actually, we go in the name of international church, but still we are a white American church, basically.
You're even saying a Southern.
Yeah, it's Southern at that.
Of course, we cannot assume that these discriminations are totally in the South. They're all over America, apparently so, from what you read, what you hear about. Yeah. Well, in the course of the efforts to break down the barriers, I do. On an executive level, on the official level, the church has endeavored to do that. But what you're saying is it has not filtered down to any recognizable level where it's causing any change.
None whatsoever. Even in appointed positions. Okay, there, you know, we have the election process, but even in appointed condition, like over the islands, look who your superintendents are. Over predominant people of color. Look who you send superintendent. So actually, not only in the election process, but also in the appointment process.
And what about membership on boards and membership on other things like that?
What token?
You regard that as
just token.
Token. Now, what in your view, Brother Chenault, could be done that would remedy, remember this, that regardless of what the circumstance is, regardless of how appearances are, there are many people who are Caucasian. There are many people who are of the white people, as you might refer it, who want that change as much as you do, or as much as people possibly can. So what do you think can be done to bring about equality in the church?
Well, one of the things can be done is for full participation of all the parishioners in the church. When I mean full participation, there are some things. For example, I had some members who went to Lee College, and they came back with negative report. The last one I had, that was Kent Shaw, and you might know Kent Shaw. The report that he came back was negative. So I stopped encouraging my parishioners. I encouraged them to go to a predominant black school. And the reason I did that, because basically all blacks who have risen to fame in this country, Booker T. Washington, Martin Luther King, all came out of black institutions.
And you believe that they would be better served if they were in a predominantly black college.
As in a master program, I think they ought to go to basic, maybe a predominant white college. But when it comes to the basic bachelor degree process.
Now, what time frame are you thinking of? You're talking about.
I'm talking about even now.
You're talking about.
I'm talking about even today.
And well, now I was president of Lee College for several years, and I do know that we tried to break down barriers, at least from the president's office and at least from the administration building. And yet I did indeed get the occasional reports while I was there of discriminatory attitudes toward among faculty or among even mainly other students. Do you think it's settled that way, or do you think I was mistaken in the assumptions that I had made?
No, I don't think you were mistaken in the assumption you have made. That was faculty members who, and I guess they have their own prejudices, and I guess we all have some type of prejudice. All of us in some instance at all. And some of them meant good, and some of them still had those prejudices action within their hearts. And some of them won't change. But one of the way to bring about change and as to have more black faculty members in the faculty. And if you have one or two, that's not enough. They need somebody that they can identify with.
Well, now, in faculty members, you understand that there are certain educational requirements and financial requirements where a lot of institutions are competing to get black faculty members. I know that during the years I was there, we very vigorously sought black Church of God faculty members. And to find those, and they didn't have to be Church of God, and, if we could find a good Christian, Pentecostal, black, that was not Church of God, it would have been wonderful to us. But if a person came to have the academic qualifications to teach in a college, such as Lee was, other colleges who could pay a great deal more than we did always grabbed them up. And we ran into that frustration. So I do know that there have been good intentions that have not been able to be accommodated because of these facts of life. Do you think there's any effort going on in the among our ministers of color toward coming to have the academic requirements, coming to have the preparation that they can actually teach in a bona fide accredited liberal arts college?
Yes, we got a lot of Church of God members can do that today.
You do have
Yes, we have a lot of them. I have at least 15 or 20 or 40 of them in my church who would be qualified with master's degree from accredited colleges. I don't know whether they want to go to Lee to teach, but they are qualified. We have ministers who are qualified. I used to teach public schools myself years ago. So we do have people who are qualified. The fact is whether they want to seek those persons who are qualified and pay them a decent salary. Nobody leave home to go to Cleveland to work for less than they can at their home.
well
That's one of the problems.
that is one of the problems. That's exactly what I'm pointing out. If we found, when I was there, someone that had the qualifications, getting them to come for the
that would
salary
be a
that they
problem.
can get at Lee,
That would be a problem.
was a
Definite
real problem. Now then, in the church itself, the General Assembly and the highest forums of the church, do you regard that any progress is being made there? Like years ago, they had a certain section that people of color would sit in. Now then, that is gone. Any minister, regardless of his origin or anything, is given access to the floor for debate. His vote is fully as acceptable as anybody else. No one knows when you vote anything at all about who voted, because they know that you were an ordained minister. These are steps in that direction. Now then, they may be small steps, they may be but at least they are being addressed by all of us, by the Caucasian and by the Afro-Americans and so on.
I agree with that. They're being addressed in that area. But to be known in this church, Brother Miller would be known because he's state overseer of Florida. Maybe Dr. Jackson would be known. But you publish our church paper. Pick it up. I get a bunch of them each a month or whatever, quarter, whenever they come. Most time they just lay there. Basically, the pictures on them, the material in there is basically predominantly white. So my particular congregation don't fully relate to that paper, although I get it every month whenever my bonds and all, but it's just lay there.
Now you're talking about the evangelism,
Evangelism.
the church about evangelism. The general church.
Yeah, right. Because they know Ray Hughes, Conn, because from generation family, when they get to the voting process, usually this church vote in the same circle. You can take a family and boom, for the next 20 or 30 years, the same circle surface.
Well,
Every now and then, some new, whether black or white, might integrate into the system.
now, do you think this is intentional, or do you?
I think sometimes it's intentionally done. For example, when they got the first black on the Council 18, and that was Wallace Sibley. Wallace Sibley got on that because I believe the overseer at that time intentionally put him to preach that night before election. Now, I personally believe that was done intentionally to give him that exposure where he could be voted in.
And you think that was an influencing factor?
Influencing factor in him being right.
And then good.
Right,
You know,
right.
the same year.
Same year.
Though not because he was from outside.
Outside, right. And because he had that exposure.
But it did result in
From,
there
right.
being two men.
So actually what I'm saying that people of color need more exposure in the church to be recognized.
How would you propose, Brother Chenault, that that kind of exposure could be given?
It can be done through the media that the church has. Okay, it's paper, okay, and actually all of those who are elected to general office are those who go around and preach at the camp meetings. You know what I'm talking about. They go from camp to camp. So when it come time for election, those are the fellas be elected because they've been exposed to all the camp meetings, around the camp meeting for the last 2 years, who they recognize the camp meeting preach.
Now then, those particular appointments, assignments, actually they're invitations to preach,
Right.
are always in the hands of the state overseers.
Well, the state overseer know his appointment is from the executive committee. So who he gonna call? That's who he gonna call to preach, because he wanted to be reappointed or reassigned, and by doing so he incurred.
And you feel that in some instances, at least, the state overseer invites to be his camp meeting preacher someone that will be acceptable to the executive committee.
Yes.
Is that what you're
Yes.
suggesting?
Yes.
Well, in the integration of the churches, I believe all but principally Florida have been pretty well integrated, black and white. That was the intention.
I don't say integrated. I say subjugated. I remember when this particular event, I think it was in '65. We sent out a survey that what was going to happen. They said it was not true. They were going to integrate the church. I said, well, all the state overseers, most of those fellas are gone or dead. Most of the state overseers are going to be white. Okay, the only state would be left basically with Florida, because there's so many of us in Florida. You had chaos when the time they sent Brother Robinson. Jake Robinson, one of the most insulting things that ever happened to the black church in the history of this church. That we didn't have a black man good enough to be overseer of our own folks, and they had to send us a white man. Those who was supposed to be integrated in the states, New Jersey, camp meeting ground, not too much role they play. One group might come there and sing a song on Sunday, one person, but the participation in those camp meetings, those other states' activities, black don't have that much participation. And when you say integrate, they're subjugating the system. That's the reason that Northeastern Eastern Conference came about, in that state, 8 states or 6 state fellowship, came about because of that reason.
Now, you say you are a third generation Church of God, and that's remarkable. That's very remarkable, and I want to let you know I'm very, very aware of that, and I honor and respect you because of such a heritage that you have in the Church of God. But now then, that is looking back 2 generations before you. What do you see when you look in the other direction
Well,
after you?
maybe if the Lord delays coming, when my grandchildren
Mhm.
be in the church, that might bring about a great change.
Mhm.
It's a slow process, very slow.
Mhm.
But eventually, the Lord delays coming, maybe we'll be like a bowl of salad. And can't help but see color. But in a bowl of salad, there are different ingredients, and all of it be accepted.
Mhm. Well, naturally, I understand that you're not talking about individual preferences and individual taste in worship styles and things like that. We all
Well, our
are,
cultures are different.
sure,
I understand
the
our
cultures are different. We accept that and we live with that.
Right.
But I do want to emphasize to you, because of my respect for you, that there are people like I who desire the same kind of non-prejudicial, non-discriminatory working together in the kingdom of God. And they are working like you are hoping to bring that about. I can assure you of that. And I hope that your grandchildren and their children will see the day that we are all brothers and sisters in the Lord Jesus Christ. And the only thing that would separate us are things that we have absolutely individual rights to. Some may like one food and some another. That's our right.
Right.
Some may want to go to one school and some another, but that's our right. Some may want to go to one church worship and some may want to go to another, and that's our right. And that we'll be able to have the pastors we want and the leaders we want and so on. And it'll be left to that. We're all looking forward to that day, Brother Chenault, and I hope that, well, you're a young man by comparison to me, but I would like to think that I would live to see that kind of bringing together into full and true unity God's people, whoever they are and wherever they are.
Hopefully it'll come before the rapture takes place.
Hopefully it'll come before the rapture. To get to visit with you, Brother Chenault. I've been visiting with Brother Thomas E. Chenault in Cocoa, Florida, who has been very gracious and very forthright and reaching for ways to understand and ways to correct any faults and any flaws that happens to be among us. And we do recognize that they are there.